Scalp, a summary by Dr. Lakshmi Gayatri. Layers of the scalp. There are 5 layers of scalp which can be remembered by the mnemonic scalp. The layers from outside to inwards are skin, close network of subcutaneous tissue, aponeurosis, loose subaponeurotic tissue, pericranium. Boundaries of the scalp. The soft tissue scalp covering the vault or the calvaria of the skull is bounded in front up to the supraorbital fissure, behind up to the superior nuchal line, and on the lateral sides up to the zygomatic arch. The skin of the scalp contains many sweat glands and sebaceous glands, so it is the most common site for sebaceous cyst. The second layer or the subcutaneous tissue contains close network of fibrous tissue. It is the layer which contains the large blood vessels and the nerves. When the vessels are torn during laceration, it produces profuse bleeding because it will be unable to retract since it is adherent to the fibrous network. The tissue contains rich blood supply, so which ensures for its vitality. So when it is torn or avulsed, it can be replaced and stitched, which will heal with little loss from sloughing. The third or the aponeurotic layer contains the epicranius muscle of the scalp. The muscle includes the occipitofrontalis and the temporoparietalis muscle. The occipitalis muscle arises as 2 bellies with a gap between them. Each belly arises from the lateral 2/3 part of the superior nuchal line and the mastoid bone. The muscle is supplied by the posterior auricular branch of the facial nerve. The frontalis muscle has no bony origin. It arises from the skin and subcutaneous tissue of the eyebrow and the root of the nose. Its medial fibers intermingle with the procerus muscle. Its intermediate fibers intermingle with the corrugator supercilii and the lateral fibers with the orbicularis oculi. It is supplied by the temporal branch of the facial nerve. The temporoparietalis arises from gallia and gets inserted to the root of the auricle. It is also supplied by the temporal branch of the facial nerve. The frontalis muscle, when it raises the eyebrows, it expresses the surprise or horror, and when it acts below, it produces transverse wrinkles and expresses fright. The gallia aponeurotica is a sheet of fibrous tissue which connects the occipitalis and the frontalis muscle. It is attached to the external occipital protuberance and to the highest nuchal line between the 2 muscles. It is most sensitive to pain. The wounds of the scalp gape only when the gallia or the epicranius muscle is divided transversely. The fourth or the loose subaponeurotic tissue layer contains loose areolar tissue and forms a potential space beneath the third layer. This is the layer which contains the emissary veins, which is devoid of valves. The emissary veins drain into the intracranial dural venous sinuses. Any infection in the scalp can be easily spread through these emissary veins to the intracranial venous sinuses, hence causing intracranial infection. Hence, this fourth layer is also called as a dangerous area of the scalp. A blow to the skull can lacerate the emissary veins, and it causes collection of blood in this potential space, which causes a generalized swelling. The blood in the fourth layer can easily gravitate into the eyelids because of the non-bony attachment of the frontalis muscle, which leads to a condition called black eye. The fourth layer is also called as safety valve hematoma. Why? Because any fracture of the cranial vault in case of children will cause a tearing of the dura mater and the pericranium. In such cases, the intracranial hemorrhage immediately communicates with this fourth layer through the fracture line. Signs of intracranial cerebral compression will not develop until this layer is completely filled with blood. Hence, it is called a safety valve hematoma. Collection of blood is called as cephalohematoma, and collection of cerebrospinal fluid is called cephalohydrocele. Cephalohydrocele occurs when there is fracture of the vault resulting in the tearing of the meninges of the brain, leading to the oozing of the cerebrospinal fluid. This commonly occurs in children. In cephalhematoma, the collection of blood will be in the shape of the bone and it will not cross the suture line. But it is not the same in case of caput succedaneum. Caput succedaneum occurs due to the interference of the venous return, which causes an edematous condition when the child comes out through the birth canal. Nerve supply of the scalp. The scalp is supplied by the 10 nerves, 5 in front of the auricle and 5 behind the auricle. In front of auricle, the nerves are supratrochlear, supraorbital, zygomaticotemporal, temporal branch of facial nerve, and auriculotemporal nerve. The supratrochlear and supraorbital are both sensory branches from the ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. Zygomaticotemporal is also a sensory branch from the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. The only motor division is the temporal branch of facial nerve, which supplies epicranius muscles, frontal belly. The auriculotemporal nerve is a sensory branch of the mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. Behind the auricle, the nerves are posterior branch of greater auricular nerve, posterior auricular branch of facial nerve, lesser occipital nerve, greater occipital nerve, and third occipital nerve. Its root values are given in the slide. Among these 5 nerves, the only motor nerve is the posterior auricular branch of facial nerve, which supplies the occipital belly of the epicranius muscle. Arterial supply of the scalp. There are 5 sets of arteries which supply the scalp on each side, 3 in front of the auricle and 2 behind the auricle. The front of auricle is supplied by the supratrochlear artery, supraorbital artery, and the superficial temporal artery. Supratrochlear and supraorbital are branches of the ophthalmic artery, while superficial temporal is a branch of the external carotid artery, which is its terminal branch. Behind the auricle, the arterial supply is by the posterior auricular artery and the occipital artery. Both are branches of the external carotid artery. The scalp is a site of the free anastomosis between the branches of the external and internal carotid arteries. To be noted, supratrochlear and supraorbital are branches of internal carotid, while the other 3 are the branches of the external carotid artery. The 4th layer contains the emissary veins, which are 2 in number. The parietal and the mastoid emissary veins both communicate with the intracranial dural venous sinuses. Venous drainage of the scalp. The veins of the scalp corresponds to the arteries. Coming to the lymphatic drainage. The anterior part of the scalp, except the region below the center of forehead, it drains into the preauricular or superficial parotid lymph nodes, while the posterior part of the scalp drains into the postauricular or the mastoid group and also into the occipital lymph nodes. These are the points of the scalp which shouldn't be missed when studying. Thank you.